Hello, U.S. history students. Mrs. Pascogan here. I want to talk to you about your checkpoint for this week and also my lesson that I'm giving you to help you complete that checkpoint. So let's first look at the checkpoint. And at this point, we are, I'd say we're midway through this project. Remember, the final due date is December 20th, and that's about a month away. But don't forget, we're going to have days off for Thanksgiving. So, things get busy with the holidays. So you really need to stay on track here. Make sure you're keeping pace. And if you haven't finished the very first project, you're really behind because that was due October 25th. So you need to get that to me ASAP because by the end of the week, I'm just going to start assigning zeros. Because at a certain point, you got to move on, right? If you keep, you can't have forever to complete something or you're going to fail the year. Okay, so get caught up fast if you got yourself in a hole. All right, so what are we doing this week? So we've been looking at intention and impact. So America's westward expansion, right? So we started out on the East Coast in our 13 colonies, and then we started moving more and more west, right? So you're looking at what was our intention, and you looked at that through Manifest Destiny in this first checkpoint on the intent, all right? What were our intentions? Why were we moving west? And then you're going to look at the impact. So how did our intentions match the impact, right, that it had on people in different groups? And in particular, you're looking at African Americans, Native Americans, and immigrants. So you already looked at African Americans. I did a little lesson on the cowboys, one of my lessons, because many African Americans were cowboys. You looked at my lesson on the Trail of Tears and the impact it had on American Indians. And now you are on immigration, okay? So what's the impact it had on immigrants? In this checkpoint, you're particularly going to be looking at the Chinese and Mexicans, okay? So this is what you're going to be asked to do when you click on here, impacts of westward expansion on immigrants. Here it is. The compelling question is, how does the intent of westward expansion compare to the impacts it had on different groups of people? So this is the same format you've been doing where you put your document number, you copy and paste a quote from that document number, and then you say, how is this evidence related to this supporting question? Okay, then here you're working now on similarities and differences between these groups. Compare and contrast the impact of westward expansion on Blacks, American Indians, and immigrants. This can be filled in just as notes, doesn't have to be full sentences. So what are some similarities and differences that you're noticing as we go through these checkpoints, the impact on these different groups? And then this is your big question here. Compare and contrast the intent of westward expansion with the impact it had on immigrants. So that's the focus. You're going to write a paragraph here answering this. Okay, so we're looking at the impact it had on immigrants. Okay, and of course to do that, you're going to have your document set. Let's see if I already opened that. Yeah, here it is. Here's your document set. So how did westward expansion impact immigrants? As you go through, highlight, take notes on the social impacts, political impacts, so in terms of government, the law. Social is just how you interact in society. And then economic impacts in terms of money. So keep those three impacts in mind here, okay? Social, political, and economic. And then here, you're going to have some documents. So this one's on Chinese immigrants and Mexican immigrants. You're going to read through this. Document B is on the impact of expansion on Chinese immigrants and Hispanics. So again, you're looking at the Chinese and Mexicans, and then this one's about something called the anti-Chinese movement and Chinese exclusion. So you have three docs. So that's where you're pulling your evidence, right? You need evidence. A lot of you are forgetting to do that. You need to pull quotes, and you need to explain your quotes to support your claim, to answer your question, okay? So that's what you're doing. Now to help you with that, I have my lesson here. And I try to use my weekly instructional lessons to help you with the content a bit more to answer the checkpoint Or sometimes maybe I'm trying to help you just to learn a skill, like how to write an argumentative claim. So this week I'm giving you a little more information or background on the Chinese experience. So to start, I want you to watch, and I'm not going to play this here because you can do this on your own, but I want you to view this. It's just a short 34-second video clip. Okay, so I'll let you do that on your own. But so I want you to watch it as an introduction to the lesson. In this week's checkpoint, you are looking at how westward expansion impacted immigrants. The checkpoint, as I said, discusses Mexicans and the Chinese, but this lesson in particular, mine, focuses on the Chinese. And if you take a look at this image from the day, so we're looking at the late 1800s, what do you see here? What's going on? Who's this man supposed to represent in the red, white, and blue and that big top hat? Do you know who he's supposed to represent? Uncle Sam, all right? He's holding some type of proclamation. And who is he kicking there? Look at the depiction of him. So he's kicking a Chinese immigrant. And why? So in other words, Uncle Sam represents America. So America is kicking the Chinese out with some type of proclamation there. Well, that's what we're going to look at, and that's what that clip is about. There's actually something called the Chinese Exclusion Act that America passed in the late 1800s, basically saying that the Chinese weren't welcome. We didn't want them here. Only certain groups of them. So why? How could it come to that? I thought America, was the nation of immigrants, and we welcomed everybody. So you're going to examine more of this. Okay, why was that? Is there any racism involved? You think? I mean, look at the depiction here. So you're gonna see some things. Could it be economics? Right? Were they, taking jobs away from white Americans? There's a lot to look at here. So as always, in the Explore, you're going to read, watch, and do. Oh, I forgot to bold that one. Let me bold that. Okay, so here, I really want to point your attention to this. There's a Newswella article I want you to read. You have to enter this for the class code. In case, I want you to enter it that way, but in case it doesn't work, I copy and pasted it into a Google Doc as well. But please let me know if it doesn't work so I can figure out what's going on. Then I also recommend you read this Khan Academy article, because this one includes not only the Chinese but the Mexican experience, and that is something you need to know for the entire checkpoint. And then I want you to watch this overview of the Chinese Exclusion Act, and then you're going to do these flashcards to learn the key terms and concepts concerning Chinese immigrants in the West. And it looks like I didn't put a link in there, so I'll have to go back and do that. What was the experience of the Chinese during westward expansion? So you're just going to write that right here. You just type it. You can take a short matching quiz, and then your big elaborate is to complete that checkpoint. So I am doing this to help you to learn a little bit more about what happened to the Chinese, and in particular the Chinese Exclusion Act, because it's really something awful that our country did. And then do your reflection. So if you have any trouble or you're confused about anything while you're working on this, please reach out to me. I'm always here to help. I can even walk you through something through Zoom. But you really got to get caught up if you're behind and try to get back on pace. All right. You have a wonderful week.